Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hungry House Husband Show. Today I am doing a very quick take on a steak and baked potato, as you can see from the picture. How I cook the steak, it took me a long time to figure it out, and it's kind of a hodgepodge method of Gordon Ramsay and a little bit of Alton Brown kind of thrown in for flavor. The potato, I found this method. It's very simple. I found it from my ex-wife, who actually used to work at a steakhouse, and this is how they did their potatoes. I never really see them done this way outside of a steakhouse until I brought it into my own home. So let's go ahead, let's get started. It's going to be really quick, really simple, and very flavorful. So let's run through the list of ingredients real quick. First thing, for the steak, you're going to want something between a ½ inch to an inch, preferably. Thinner steaks, like breakfast steaks, will not work with this method. It's going to cook too fast. You're going to end up with leather. But anything like a normal size cut, anything bigger than a ½ inch or so, you'd be all right. Some minced garlic, 2 tablespoons of butter, depending on the size of your steak, salt, pepper, of course, and some dried thyme. For the potato, the bigger they are, the longer they take to cook. My potato was about the size of the palm of my hand, so it was decent size. For that, also salt, pepper, olive oil. Now the salt, make sure it's kosher salt. You want something with a big grain. Sea salt will work just fine as well. Okay, so starting with the potato. First, preheat your oven 450 degrees. Take your potato, preferably in a baking dish, something somewhat shallow, but something you can cover with foil. Cookie sheet would even work. You want to pierce the potato a few times just to let the steam out. Then we're going to take our extra virgin olive oil, and we're just going to put about a teaspoon, maybe ½ a tablespoon on. Rub it in. Make sure you cover the potato. What this is going to do is, in the oven, it's going to crisp the skin up. It's going to give it that awesome steakhouse potato texture, and it's also going to help the salt to stick. The salt is also not only going to provide flavor, but it dehydrates the skin a little bit, and that way you don't have those weird brown potato water. You don't have potato water on the skin, basically, because that's not good eats. Now, we're going to go get our kosher salt. Again, sea salt works just fine, but you want something with a bigger grain. And we're going to just kind of put a few pinches on, and then be sure to pat it on, whatever you want to do to the potato. Just make sure there's salt on it. Don't roll it or anything like that. That's just way too much. But just a pinch or two will go and take care of that potato just nice. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven. For this size potato, which again about the size of the palm of my hand, we're talking maybe 45 minutes to 50 minutes, depending on how soft you want it. Now on to the star of the show. I have a dry pan here, no oil, no butter, no nothing. Just going to put it over medium-high heat. I have my rib-end chuck steak here. It's about an inch thick. Like the bones, just because it imparts a lot of flavor into the meat, and the marbling is also important. Look at that fat marbling in there. This is not healthy food, but this is good food. Salt, pepper, both sides, liberally. And then just put it straight down into that pan. Once it's hot, you will hear an immediate sizzle, and don't touch it. Let it sit there for 5 minutes. Now 5 minutes is up, we're going to go ahead and flip it. Do not poke your steak. You want to use tongs or some other type of method to flip it. Do not puncture the steak. All the juices will run out. You will end up with dry leather. Okay? So now you can see what 5 minutes is done. It's nice and seared. That's going to keep a lot of those juices in, and it's going to keep it nice and tender. Let it go another 5 minutes. So here we are, another 5 minutes later. You can see the oil starting to collect from the melted fat on the sides. We're going to go ahead and add some more by taking it and putting it on the fattiest parts of the meat. All that fat that just kind of sits on the side of the steak, we want to get as much of that off as possible. It reduces that leftover wasted steak and turns it into flavor. Nobody likes chewing on the fat, although it is where all the flavor is. That's why we want to impart it into the pan rather than into our mouths. That way, it helps with the texture a bit, and it also seals in the sides. You want to make sure that the liquids inside the steak that make it so moist and tender and delicious don't go anywhere. So seal up every side you can by just touching it on the pan like that. Okay, now time to give it a little more flavor. We're going to add in our butter at this point, along with our garlic and our thyme. Now, this is the part that I got from Gordon Ramsay. It kind of seemed a little weird at first, but after I tried it, I have never cooked a steak differently. All my steaks are cooked this way, just because I love them. Don't need any special rubs or marinades or anything. Salt, pepper, butter, thyme, garlic. Works also great on chicken and on the grill. So just a little FYI for you. So now all the kids are in the pool. We let that butter melt. As that butter melts, it's gathering the flavors of the garlic. It's taking in the flavors of the thyme. You're getting this nice waft of a butter garlic smell. It's awesome. Now we're going to take a spoon and tilt your pan very carefully because the stuff is hot. Duh. And we're going to spoon it over the steak. Okay? Get the garlic on there, get the thyme on there, and you're going to do this in increments of 30 minutes or 30 seconds. Now, when 30 seconds is over, you're going to flip the steak. Now, I usually like my steak a good mid-rare, okay? So, the easiest way to tell the firmness and the doneness of a steak is by the finger method. Now, the finger method is where you put your thumb and your fingers together on one hand and you press in the meatiest part of your thumb, and it's going to give you a judge on how done the steak is without having to cut it, because again, you cut it, the juices flee out and you end up with shoe leather. So poke your steak and then take your fingers and put them together like so. Now, index finger is rare, mid finger is medium, third finger is well done, and fourth finger is hockey puck. So that's bad. So there you go. There's the finger method. It works every time, no matter what cut of meat you are working on, so far as beef goes anyway. So here I am going for the third flip, and it's still just a touch rare, so I'm going to give it another 30 seconds or so. Again, keep basting it. You're adding that fat on top with all the flavors of the garlic and the thyme, and it is just going to keep it moist. It's going to keep it delicious, and you won't have to worry about it drying out and turning to shoe leather or anything else like that. Once your 30 seconds is up, go ahead, pull it, put it on a plate, and let it rest. Don't cut it or anything like that for at least 10 minutes, okay? So here we are, taking our potato out after 45 or so minutes, give or take. And it is done. Going to go ahead, take a knife, and we're going to give them a little incision right down the middle. And you'll notice that the skin should be kind of crispy. Take 2 forks and then just squeeze, and you will notice that it will open up beautifully, just like that. At this point, add whatever toppings you like. I personally believe that a potato has to have butter, salt, pepper, cheese, and some sour cream and or chives. Not necessarily in that order. Now, this one was for my wife because she can't eat anything really solid or tough anyway. So this is just what I call a JoJo. It's butter and cheese, and then she puts the salt and pepper on it as she likes. But you get the gist. Whatever toppings you like, doesn't matter. It's up to you. You're the one eating it. And so here we have it. Steak and baked potato. Very, very, very simple recipe slash method. It's not even really a recipe. But very flavorful. You will love it. Just remember the finger method for checking your steak's doneness levels. Do not pierce your steaks as they're cooking or for 10 minutes after. And be careful with the potatoes. They're very, very hot. So besides all this good stuff, I have a serious question to ask you guys. Should I get a Patreon account? Is that something that's too off-putting for a YouTube channel? I ask because this is basically what I do for a living now, and it would really help to fund the show because steaks are not cheap. And I wouldn't really expect to make a bajillion dollars or anything, but it would certainly help out. Anyway, just let me know in the comments if you think it's a good idea, if you think it sucks, and we'll go from there. Until next time, may your life and your food always have flavor. Bye-bye.
Oops.